Greg, how are you today?
Fine, fine.
It's really great that you're with us today. You want to tell us a little bit about yourself and what got you to start developing loadable components?
Yeah. I'm Greg. I'm the author of several open source projects. Obviously, Loadable Components, but also SVGR and some others like Eckstein in the React ecosystem.
You started writing open source projects a long time ago?
Yeah. I started as soon as I was a young developer. I was publishing my script since maybe my first script. I was publishing things to compute like theorem, Pythagore, and things like that when I was very young at 12. So I started open source very early. GitHub didn't exist yet, but I was publishing on code source. It's a small network previous as GitHub. And then when I discovered GitHub, I started to create open source projects like ShipIt. It was something to to deploy application, not like we deploy today because there is Kubernetes and everything. But at the start, it was like Capistrano, but for JavaScript. And after I discovered React, and I started to to publish things around React and about loadable components specifically. I found that the problem wasn't solved. The problem of doing ECSR and loading components asynchronously.
Right. Dynamic loading, right?
Yeah. Yes, the dynamic import in SSR wasn't solved. It is now with Next, but if you don't use Next or Gatsby on the frameworks, it is not solved. The only solution today is loadable components to make it work. So that's why I started it, because it wasn't solved.
You had a use case in one of your applications that made you think about this problem. You had a use case.
Yeah. I had SSR in my application, my React application, and I wanted to do code splitting, so I had to solve it. There was React loadable, but it was not maintained, and it didn't solve the problem completely. So we decided to create loadable components.
Yeah. So I'll tell you a little bit about what we're doing. I'm the developer that works on the platform, on the infrastructure for rendering applications in Wix. So we have in Wix many applications that are developed in Wix. Some of them in Wix, some of them outside of Wix. And we are in the team, that platform that we load all those applications. They load the React components, and then we render them. So this is why, by the way, that and obviously we do SSR also, and because those and the problem with our application was that in a lot of use cases, users can configure the application. For example, I'll give an example. For example, for let's say the e-commerce applications that we have, the user can configure if it wants to have, for example, comments widget on his product page, or sometimes it doesn't want to have. So you can configure it in a settings panel in the Wix editor. And this exactly those use cases that applications had to, if they wanted to render, for example, the comments widget in SSR, they couldn't dynamically load it if the user chose not to show it or to show it. They had to download it all the time, and then only in runtime decide if they want to hide it or show it. You understand?
Yeah.
And this is exactly the use case that was the issue for us, because the bundle size of those applications became very large, because they had to bundle all the different products, even if the user didn't choose to have them in this website, in the Wix website.
Yeah.
It is obviously one workaround was to only show it on client side, but then on some use cases we had to do the server side rendering of those components, and then we couldn't do it, so they had to bundle it.
Yeah, it's a good use case. Yeah.
Yeah, so this is why we searched for. We had many discussions about how to solve it. You know, one possible solution was to split the bundle into multiple bundles. So, for example, let's say you have a mobile version and you have desktop version. So we thought maybe, you know, they can export mobile and desktop, and then we can load each one in each environment. But you have so many permutations of use cases. So we thought about this for a little bit, but then we dropped it. We said it's too much bundles to export, and then the build time takes longer, and it's hard for the developer to create those bundles. So we dropped this idea. And then we saw loadable components, and we thought it's exactly what we need, you know, to solve our use case. But you know what's funny about what happened, and I think you saw it, that in our application, we load those bundles dynamically, not from our application. You know, we load them from there are different bundle, different runtime, which they are built separately from our build. So this is why we had this issue where in two runtimes, you know, back then loadable components didn't support two runtimes in the same two Webpack runtimes in the same environment. But then you helped us and we fixed this. You ever had a use case like this?
No, not like that. But I remember that issue on Loadable Components.
Yeah. So it was funny. Then I remember myself debugging the loadable components code and figuring out why it doesn't work for me. And then I realized that just because this external bundle had to use the same loadable components instance in SSR, so it has to externalize it. If they use a separate instance of loadable components, it doesn't work well. So I remember myself debugging loadable components, trying to find out what's the issue, and then I realized I had to externalize the loadable components in the other bundle, so they'll share the same instance. Yeah. I want to ask you if I saw in the code that obviously the library is very coupled with Webpack. You think it's going to be harder to maintain the project with keeping up the upgrades? I know Webpack 5 just released lately. Do you think it's making it harder?
Yes. Loadable Components is coupled to Webpack. We don't have the choice really to do another way to solve this problem. It's a problem that Webpack evolves slowly, so it's not really a problem.
Right.
Webpack is the most used bundler, so it's not really a problem again. But yeah, it should not be coupled to Webpack, but to be able to not couple it to Webpack, we need some API on the import to get some information. We need a specification, and the specification was not yet ready. To date, it has it evolves because you have import everywhere, including in Node now. So it's going in the good way. That's also because why I think React team didn't solve the problem, because they didn't want to couple React and Webpack. So that was a problem for them.
Right. Yeah, I hope, like you said, I really hope that Webpack will release exposed APIs. So at least they will have to, you know, support those APIs. You know, if for example, if they expose the registry, then it will be easier to get the registry of the chunks from an API and not from, you know, something internal, which will probably make it easier when they upgrades. You know, they will exports the documentations, and then it will be easier. I hope they will do it. You know, it's funny you mentioned, because now we're starting to use model federation. You heard about model federation in Webpack 5?
Yeah, I heard about it. I didn't have the chance to use it yet, but yes, I heard about it. I don't know if it really solves the problem.
No, we use it. Yeah, right. We use it for different use cases. We use it to share code between applications.
Yeah.
We have two runtimes. They bundled each one with its own Webpack, and they want to share code. Some code is shared.
Yeah, the promise is to be able to share code between applications in same project, but also in all the projects on the web. If you need to load React, you shouldn't bundle it in every website. You could just download the same version of React across the whole web.
Yeah, exactly. So what's funny about model federation is that only to use it, you have to use internal Webpack variables. I mean, even if their documentation, they didn't expose like API, I'm sure they will fix it. I'm sure they will make it the API better. And I hope that once they do it, they also fix the other APIs. So I think it's their APIs right now. It's not very good. I'm sure they'll fix it, and I'm sure that once more people will use it, more application will use it, then the documentation will get better, and I think it will get better. I want to ask you if you ever heard about ESBuild. We started to investigate ESBuild because we had some problems with slow builds with Webpack, and we heard the ESBuild is very, very fast. You heard about it?
Yeah, I heard about it. I didn't have the chance to use it, but I gave a look at it, and ESBuild is very fast to build JavaScript from ES modules, but ESBuild is not really a bundler. Maybe it will become one, but I think it's not the idea. That's why there is VJS, and VJS is a bundler that uses ESBuild, but VJS takes care of everything like CSS and everything that is not JavaScript, but that is needed to create a rich application. So maybe VJS could replace Webpack, but ESBuild itself cannot. ESBuild could replace Babel, and Babel is often the slow part of Webpack in React application. So there is already a loader available, but today there is a lot of things like loadable components that relies on Babel ecosystem. So it's complicated to use ESBuild inside Webpack and inside the React ecosystem, because since the beginning we use Babel, and everything is coupled to Babel, you know,
right.
like a style component or emotion. Everything has a Babel plugin to transform code before it is bundled. So ESBuild is a good thing, but it will take time to replace the actual ecosystem. Maybe in new application, if we start with ESBuild or VGS and that kind of ecosystem, we will have to find other solution. So I think it's a good move for a new project to start with that thing, because it's faster and it's obviously better, because the problematic was solved by Webpack, but you know, it was Webpack is in version 5, so it has to evolve, but not to do some real breaking change, because else it's completely a new tool. So this alternative are built for the web of today, and with ES module in mind, that it's a default now. Webpack has to support everything, AMD and CommonJS. So it's faster, because they reduce the gap by supporting just what is needed. I don't think ESBuild is really fast, because it's written in Go. In JavaScript, it could be fast also, but when Webpack was designed, the speed was not one of the consideration. That's why it's slow, because we wanted things that works, and at this time the application was much more smaller, and the speed was not a problem, but today it is.
You think they will work? You think they will work on the speed of the build in the future releases? You think they will work on it?
In Webpack, I don't know really. I don't know the project governance. I don't know if they will work on it or not.
Yeah, I hope they will, and I think they will, because I think those alternatives that come up right now, they will make them think about the speed, because I saw a lot of people are using ESBuild because of the speed, so I think it will make them think maybe they should improve.
Yeah, maybe it will be the same that with Yarn and NPM. You know, NPM was very slow, and Yarn comes up and say, okay, we are speed. And now NPM and Yarn are speed is both same speed, but I don't know. It really depends who is maintaining Webpack. Does they really have the money to do it? Do they have really the interest to make it evolve? Well, Webpack is not a company, so it's not like NPM and Yarn.
Right. You know, one of the use cases that we have in loadable components is that we have, you know, like a rich content editor. Like inside the Wix website, you can add like an editor, so you can, for example, write a post blog, And then you can add in the post blog, you can add features. You can add video, you can add image, you can add gallery, photo gallery. You can add many plugins to this editor. And then, like we talked earlier, one of the issues was that they couldn't dynamically load those plugins. They had to bundle it, so the bundle was huge. And then Loadable Components solves it by only loading the plugins that you actually have. Because once you write the comment, then you obviously it saves in the schema what the comments has, and then they know which component to download. So Loadable Components solves it. But now we came into the new issue that we come up with is having too much network requests. Because now if you have many plugins, now you have many network requests. Instead of a big one, you have like, so now we have Wix websites with a lot of network requests. So now we're trying to fix it by trying to see with the BI which network requests always goes together and bundle them together with Webpack group cache groups. The cache groups, so you can bundle together chunks if you have them all the time together.
Yeah, if you just name the chunks, they should be in the same JavaScript bundle, and it should solve it. But you have you have more advanced options in Webpack to solve this problem. Yes.
Yeah. So this is kind of like the problems that you start having after you fix one problem, you have other different problems. But those are smaller problems. We see that definitely the performance is improved, but now we're trying to see if it can be even better.
I think it could be solved just with a magic Webpack command. Maybe I'm wrong, but
no. But we don't want the decision which bundle to be together to be in the source code. The configuration is a good place to say. The configuration is a good place to try and play with different bundles, different chunks together. So we just change the configuration. We push it, and we see if it affects the performance.
You should maybe give a look to the NextJS source code, because they have configured that with the help of Google and Webpack and everything. And maybe they have a good default, but maybe not suitable for your use case.
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely a good idea. I want to ask you about future plans that maybe you have, or for Loadable Components, or maybe for other things that are related to this area.
Recently, Dan Abramov asked me about the internals of Loadable Components, though. So I hope that React will take the problem and solve it now that they have incremental hydration and things like that. So I think they are working on it. And for now, Loadable Components, we just maintain it, but we don't really push features on it, because today there is NextJS and Gatsby that mainly solves this kind of problem, and there is
you know how NextJS solved the issue. You know how they solve it.
For SSR and dynamic import, they solved it like it's about the same thing as Loadable Components, but bundled in their project, but it's the same idea. There is not.
They use the global variables of Webpack and the registry. They use the registry there.
Yeah, I think so. At the time I gave a look at it, it was the same thing. That's why also they have bundled their router to be able to solve this, because in NextJS you have to use their router. That's because of this kind of problem. They have to track everything. But I think, yeah, it's the same thing, but they collaborate with React team and everything. So I think it will be just solved by React, because React also submit something to create a kind of specification on import to be able to implement that things. It was a long time ago when I saw that, maybe 2 years ago.
I saw the server components by React. Maybe the server components can.
Yeah, maybe they have server components and React lazy and SSR that needs to support React lazy and suspense and everything. So they have to solve it in React now.
Yeah.
The problem is the coupling with Webpack, but they have they are strongest to make the community evolve and the spec evolves to be able to solve it correctly.
So you think that their solution will not be tied to Webpack? They will do something.
Yeah. I don't think they will couple it to Webpack. If they implement it, they will rely on an official spec in in the import system to not use Webpack internals.
Got it.
I'm sure of that, and they will collaborate with Webpack to implement these things for the community to be able to use it, because if Webpack don't follow, if Webpack team don't follow, it will never happen.
Yeah. I know that the main maintainer of Webpack now joined Next, so everything is together now. So they probably have they talk about everything together.
Yeah.
Interesting. Great. I wanted to ask you, what do you think about what do you think is the biggest challenge about the open source project, the ones that you maintained? What was the biggest challenge there?
Biggest challenge for open source is
maintaining open source with many users.
The biggest challenge is to maintain a project that you don't use, because when I developed Loadable Components, I was using it, so it was kind of easy. Now I don't use it because I work at Le Monde as a lead developer, and we don't need really SSR, so Loadable Components is not required. So I don't use it. So maintaining something that you don't use is very complicated, except if you are paid for that. And I'm not. The open source doesn't. There is no money. Maybe Loadable Components. Since the beginning, there is maybe $300 donation, not more. It's so if I work just one day as freelance, it's better than the entire
Right.
the entire donation for loadable components. And loadable components, it's much more work than one day. So
Right.
so the biggest challenge is
I understand. Yeah.
is continue a project when you don't use it, the project could die. And now on Loadable Components, I'm not working on it, but I have a friend that is maintaining it. It's Anton Korzunov that created one library to do the same thing, but he asked me to be maintainer on loadable components, because there was more traction, and he is very interested by the problem.
Nice.
He also works on React bootloader, but now it is solved by React. So I'm glad he could maintain it, but it's really difficult for that.
I'm sure it's very, very difficult. Yeah, we actually in the phase of migration, so some of the application already use it, and but I think that once they see the big value of cutting the bundle size, more and more an application in Wix will start using it very soon. So it's I think it's great, and I think we'll for sure help you with anything we can to you know, fixing finding bugs and reporting and stuff like that, because we'll be using it a lot very soon.
Thanks.
Yes, so it was great to have you with us. It was really interesting talk, and thank you very much for this.
Yeah, thank you.